Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is Wednesday, October 30th. It was a great week of football. So many late game lead changes back and forth. Like, that was one of the better Sundays I could remember in quite a while. We got that Hail Mary in the Commanders-Bears game. We'll talk about that. Lots of late lead changes. It was National Tight Ends Day, so happy Tight Ends Day for all of those who observe. But the tight ends went off on Sunday. 16 touchdowns and 177 catches total. I made a lot of money off them on Sunday. Basically, a third of the league sucks right now. 30% of teams have 2 wins or less, which is absolutely atrocious. And once again, for a third straight week now, another wide receiver gets traded. Lots to talk about, obviously. Going to be a good episode. Also, as always, college football highlights. Let's get into it. No, the week was absolutely crazy. So many lead changes. One that obviously not in my favor, and it hurt me a lot, but no, lots of things to talk about just in general. Me, a couple things personally. My CFL gig ended. My flag football team won the championship. Go Browns. First time I'll say that probably ever, especially on this podcast. But no, was a crazy weekend, and I guess we will get right into the college football highlights. Unfortunately, Navy goes down, they lose, but they lost to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame scored 7 TDs in this one, which is more than the Giants and the Jets have combined at MetLife. I should have mentioned that the Navy-Notre Dame game was played at MetLife, because that makes more sense. We had an 84-yard thick six by Javare Ritzie, the 6'4", 290 defensive tackle out of North Carolina. 84-yard pick six. Love seeing plays like that. People, for some reason, tried to make Garrett Nussmeier a thing for this quarterback class. Like, oh, watch out for Nussmeier, QB1. Had a good first half and then absolutely imploded in the second half against Texas A&M. That was a big matchup. Texas A&M comes out on top. Ashton Jeanty has a down week, only 128 yards and a touchdown. Yes, that is a down week for Ashton Jeanty. That's how good he has been. And a little bit of room was made up in the Heisman race. Travis Hunter, 9 catches, 153 yards, 2 TDs. Again, playing both sides of the ball. Absolutely incredible. But I don't even know if Travis Hunter is the best wide receiver in this upcoming class, because Tyroa McMillan, 10 catches, 202 yards, 1 TD. The wide receiver out of Arizona, he looks absolutely incredible also. Shaping up to be a pretty decent draft in my opinion, but those are the Week 9 college football highlights. And I guess let's get into this Week 8 recap, and we will start off with the game that, of course, we watched 2 nights ago at this point. I always say last night because for me, when I record, it is last night, but Giants, Steelers, Giants 18, Steelers 26. Started out as not a great game. The primetime over 3.5 field goals hit with, I think, midway through the second quarter. They just were trading field goals back and forth, and then the Steelers offense came alive, and Russ might have made the best throw I've seen from Russ in 4 years. That deep ball to George Pickens was absolutely incredible. There's no other words for it. Like, that was vintage Russ, and I do hope that we get to see more of that Russ, because I really liked Russell Wilson as a player. Now, what he did for the Broncos these last few years was absolutely absolutely dreadful, and maybe it's the situation, maybe it's the coaching, I don't know. I'm not fully bought in back on Russ, but Russ is definitely an upgrade over Justin Fields in the passing department. I don't think anyone can argue about that. And because now teams are more worried, oh, the Steelers have a bit of a passing game, that allows them, again, it takes defenders out of the box, and all of a sudden, okay, Steelers offensive line's pushing people around. Najee Harris is suddenly looking like the running back I thought he was at Alabama, and Jalen Warren getting it going. Like, the offense looks a lot more put together than it has in years past. And obviously, new offensive coordinator, don't have Matt Canada, who's an idiot, and I can say what I want about Russell Wilson, and maybe I don't think he's still a top 20 quarterback. Still has to prove that to me. We've seen a lot of bad play from him recently, but he is still an infinitely better quarterback than Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky or anyone that they've had to deal with since the corpse of Big Ben was throwing the ball. And it does, like, you can see how much better the passing attack does look, even though Russ, I still don't think is obviously, like, he's a good quarterback, he's a fine quarterback, but he's not Russ. He's not 2020 Russ. That throw was unbelievable, but the Steelers now have me thinking, like, can they make a 2015 Broncos type of run where, because that defense is so fucking good. Like, TJ Watt, he should just win Defensive Player of the Year every single year. I think it might have been last year where I was having the talk because it was JJ's first year out of the league where I'm like, I don't know if, like, I think TJ's going to have the better career because JJ's injuries and stuff like that. But, like, JJ's peak was so, like, good. TJ Watt's peak is also, he's incredible. He is on an all-time pace to finish as one of the better edge defenders of all time. Absolutely crazy that I think he was the fifth or the fourth edge taken in his class. Oh, I gotta look that up because it might be more than that. Because it was the Myles Garrett draft, but I don't think that was like the Clellan Fair. Because I think what it was. I think it was Myles Garrett. Then you have like Charles Harris, who went to Miami, dud. Tack McKinley for the Falcons, and then Taco Charlton, who went to the Cowboys. I think that's the. I think that's what it was, and TJ Watt was taken after all of those guys. Obviously, Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett, and that makes perfect sense. But I am 2017, man. God, these guys are old now. We're old. We're all getting old. But okay, let me actually see who was drafted here as I keep wasting more time. So yeah, Myles Garrett, Derek Barnett. That's another one. So okay, Derek Barnett. Charles Harris, Tack McKinley, Taco Charlton were all taken ahead of TJ Watt in that draft. Yeah. TJ Watt, people thought it's like, he can't be as good as his brother. He might be better, and that's an insane things to say. Shout out, yeah, I've already shouted out Najee Harris. He's looking good. I think that was actually pretty good talk on the Steelers, so we can move on from them. The Giants on the other side. I think if you have any other quarterback apart from Daniel Jones, like any other like good starting viable quarterback, like if they had Russell Wilson on their team, this would be like the Giants are good. I think that what Brian Dable has done at coaching and what Joe Shane, whatever it is, has done at JM, they've compiled a pretty good roster despite the looming $40 million man at their quarterback spot. Tyrone Tracy has looked great. 20 carries, 145 yards, and a TD in this one. Yeah, like their weapons are good. Like Neighbors is a wide receiver one. Tracy looks like a pretty damn good running back in this league. Wandale has been good. Darius Slayton makes plays. Theo Johnson made a couple plays in this one. The other rookie tight end, and like obviously the offensive line is hurt right now, not having Andrew Thomas, but like the fact that they look like an offense is a great thing to me. But Daniel Jones proves time and time again where he just can't. He's not good. He's not good at the end of the day. Realistically, it's as simple as that. Shout out for Brian Burns. He's really been getting going. I think he's had a sack in his last 5 games now. Yeah, lots of penalties from the Giants too. Like lots of, and that was kind of on both sides, more towards the Giants towards the end, because that killed a lot of their drives where they had to settle for those field goals. Let me just see what the penalties were. Yeah, the Giants had 11 penalties. Yeah, 11 penalties to 5 penalties. That just can't happen. That's yeah, simply unfortunate, and we can go all the way back to Thursday Night Football now. Vikings 20, Rams 30. So it came out after this game that Puka Nacua was going to be active, and I was like, okay, we knew Kupp was coming back. This was supposed to happen, but the Puka Nacua news was, oh shit, like he's back? Seriously? That's awesome. But I was like, okay, he's fine to be back out there, but I thought it was going to be like, okay, he's still a little bit injured. He's able to play and he's good to go, but like, this is going to be get Cooper Kupp going, Puka Nacua, you take away guys on the defense. Puka was the guy, and that makes me, as a Puka fantasy owner, very happy. I don't think anyone who had Puka Nacua on their fantasy team started him last week because people were worried about that injury, but no, he looks like the guy from last year, which is awesome. 7 catches, 106 yards. Like, they got him going, got him involved, and he looks like he is that wide receiver one. And really, this Rams whole offense, once they get those two guys back, they look lethal. Puka was doing his thing. Cooper Kupp, 5 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Couple big catches by Demarcus Robinson. Kyron Williams continues to be insanely effective. 23 rushes, 97 yards. Also added 5 catches for 19 yards and a touchdown. Stafford was making some incredible plays. Like, the Rams, now that they're seemingly healthy on offense, and the offensive line is still a little bit banged up, but again, getting healthier, the NFL is so wide open right now. Like, why can't the Rams go on a run and make the playoffs? And that's kind of how it feels like a lot of these teams still, and a lot of them we will still talk about, because it's like, why not them? Because at this point, it still is anyone's game for the wild card spot. And I don't think midway through the season for most years you can really say that, which makes it exciting from an NFL fan perspective, obviously. And yeah, this young Rams defensive line did get going. Jared Verse, sack and a half. Byron Young had a sack, and we'll talk about that very quickly. I guess we'll just talk about it now, but there was a face mask call that was blatantly missed by all of the refs. There was refs standing 10 feet away from Sam Darnold, who you could just see his head getting yanked around, because your head doesn't do that unless someone is making it do that. Absolutely embarrassing call that they missed. That was the Vikings' chance to go down the field, and the Vikings they did move the ball relatively easily. Justin Jefferson was, again, I said it in my blind recap, he's a very hard man to stop, and he doesn't get stopped. 8 catches, 115 yards in this one, but my main takeaway from the Vikings in this one is they still looked good. They still looked like fine, whatever. Vikings secondary couldn't compete basically with the Rams and what Sean McVay does. And then losing Christian Darrisaw hurts them a ton. Christian Darrisaw is one of the best offensive tackles in the league, and losing him is like losing a Trent Williams, a Laramie Tunsil, an Andrew Thomas, a Lane Johnson. He is that valuable for that offensive line, and you can't replace him, and I think that this Vikings offense will take a step back at this point. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson, and I think he's basically, like, he will get his stats no matter what, but everyone else will take a step back just because they don't have that anchor at left tackle, someone you can rely on to win his matchup every single time. So I still like the Vikings, obviously, but they have a much tougher road ahead of them for the rest of the season. However, never mind. I was going to say that was their first loss of the season. I forgot that they lost the week before that to the Lions. My bad. We can go on to Sunday's games now. Ravens 24, Browns 29. Yeah, not Not unexpected, and I know that that sounds crazy, but the vibes in the locker room, the complete shift from everyone on the Browns, it was night and day in terms of those teams that were on the field last week. When they were with the nasty man, no one looked like they wanted to play football out there. It was just bad, bad, bad everywhere. And they get 1 week of Jameis, and it's poof. Oh my God, everything's good. Oh my God, look, the offensive line is suddenly playing well. Oh, look, people are making plays on the offense. Crazy, crazy how much the Browns look different in this one. Browns defense did play well, but really the major theme in this one for the Browns is so Watson never thrown for 300 yards so far as a Brown. Winston and Flacco have done that in 6 of their 7 starts with Watson out. We can clearly see who the problem is on the team. It's very, very evident. It was evident last year. Now it's clear as day. You can't miss it at this point. Watson has to be gone. Just cut bait, take the huge dead cap, suck it up. He can't be on the team next year. He just can't. But yeah, Browns win. Jameis played like Jameis. Again, he had his 300-yard game, 333 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Also easily could have had 3 interceptions in this one. There was a lot of drops by the Ravens. Lots of drops. Run game, Nick Chubb taking a little bit to get going, and I hope that he can get back a little bit. But really, the other big story for this one for the Browns was Cedric Tillman, the second-year receiver from the Browns out of Tennessee, 3rd-round pick last year. No, he had a crazy game, 7 catches, 99 yards, 2 TDs, and me being a dumbass. So I picked up Tillman before fantasy last week and wasn't really checking my lineup too hard. DK Metcalf out. Tillman was the only receiver that I could put in that spot, but because he started already, I couldn't make the switch. That's my bad. And I was like, okay, I'm playing a close enough matchup where I want points. So I dropped Cedric Tillman, and I was like, I can pick him up off waivers maybe later. And then he has that crazy of a game. He looks like he's going to be the Browns wide receiver 1, the heir apparent to Amari Cooper. David Njoku had a crazy touchdown catch in this one too. But yeah, defense played well. They did their thing. This is a big divisional win. Big win for the Browns going forward. Ravens on the other side, though. It's obviously, like, this game was a letdown. You should have won this game. A lot didn't go your way. You kept it close, but this is just kind of one of those games where shit happens. Things didn't break your way. It's okay, kind of, at the end of the day. But, winnable game. And like I said, when talking about Winston, there was multiple dropped interceptions in this one. Kyle Hamilton basically had the game locked up if he picks that ball off. Don't know how he dropped it, but there's a reason he plays defense. Ha ha ha, that's the old joke. Yeah, Rashad Bateman got blinded by the sun. That also would have put them down, down the field late to potentially ice the game. I'm trying to remember what the actual when that moment happened, but that was a huge misplay. Justin Tucker misses a kick. We got to start talking about Justin Tucker. He's an average looking kicker now, which is crazy to say about Justin Tucker. But yeah, all of this, and I guess Eric DeCosta, the Ravens GM, saw that Bateman drop and was like, okay, we're trading for Deontay Johnson. So Deontay Johnson is now on the Ravens. More on that on Friday's episode, but that is the big news. Him and Zay Flowers are going to absolutely cook the middle of the field. I can't wait to see how they're going to put everything together, but the Ravens are fine. They didn't move in my power rankings. They were 3 last week. They're staying at 3 this week. It is a very, very good team, and I'm not doubting them. They were missing Marlon Humphrey. They were missing Nate Wiggins. They're still missing Marcus Williams. Those are 3 major starting pieces of their secondary. And again, the Ravens are fine. It's a tough loss. It's a loss that hurts, and now you're not first in your division, but I wouldn't worry if I'm a Ravens fan. Next game up here, Colts 20, Texans 23. I I didn't expect to be saying this really about the Texans this year, but Joe Mixon is carrying their offense, and it's not a bad thing. Joe Mixon has been playing great football. He's really had a resurgence here in Houston, but the fact that Joe Mixon is carrying the offense is very, very concerning. The Texans' offensive line has taken a huge step back. While I believe Laramie Tunsil is hurt, and I will check on that. But either way, their offensive line is getting absolutely killed. I'm trying to remember, and I had the stat down, but I think he got pressured, at least in the first half. He got pressured on 75% of his dropbacks. That can't happen. Like, that is, like, as good as CJ Stroud is, and as good as, like, oh, he can move around in the pocket so well, that is, like, unfathomably bad. Okay, yeah. Okay, no. So Tunsil's playing, but there's other issues, obviously, amongst that offensive line. Yeah, Texans get another win, but the Texans continue to be this team that, like, a lot of people had heavy, heavy expectations going into the year. And the expectations are still warranted. Like, their record, they are 6-2. They're first in the division. They haven't looked impressive, I think, 1 week yet. Which is tough. And obviously, they're missing some guys, and now Stephon Diggs, ACL tear, he's done for the year. Nico Collins should come back pretty soon, but yeah, the Texans are just kind of up there in my rankings based off name and roster alone at this point. They have a lot of issues, but they keep winning football games, and that's what matters at the end of the day. Colts on the other side. It has been announced, and this is really... Actually, before I get to the Anthony Richardson stuff, because that's obviously the only thing to really talk about the Colts here. Shout out to Jonathan Taylor. He comes back, 20 rushes, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Josh Downs looks great, 4 catches, 109 yards. DeForest Buckner is obviously a huge boost for the Colts defense. He came back. Yeah, I think that's basically all I need to say. Let's get to Anthony Richardson. So, Anthony Richardson, it has been announced he is being benched. He is being benched by Joe Flacco. And this means I've had multiple discussions with people this afternoon about it. It can mean a lot of things. So part one, we'll go, because I'm going to split this into 2 parts probably. But part one, the Colts are done with Anthony Richardson. I think if that is the case, I think it's absolutely crazy drafting him so high just 2 years ago, knowing he's a physical specimen and needs to get reined in, hone on his skills, that you can see all the skills. He's like the best athlete to ever play quarterback, and you can see that the skills are there, but he just needs playing time. Because I think between college and the NFL so far, he has 34 starts between college and the pros. That's not good enough, and you knew he was going to be a project. And you started him last year, you start him this year, and maybe this is kind of like, okay, you got to fix things, because he does. He does have to fix a lot of things. He's not playing good football. That's very, very clear. But if the Colts are done with him, if they're like, okay, we're going with Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to the win, and then next offseason, we'll reevaluate, maybe bring in more QB competition for him, and they've given up on him, which seems like a weird thing, and I don't think Jim Irsay would force his hand to, like, we gotta play Joe Flacco because we're in a win-now mode, and they're in a win-now mode because everyone is in a win-now mode in the AFC because it's so out of whack right now. But I would still take Anthony Richardson over every single quarterback in next year's draft class, even given what we know. The talent is there, and it's tough to say that after a game where he completed less than 30% of his passes, or around 30% of his passes, and his career completion, or this season completion percentage, is at 44%. It is tough to say that, but as funny as like the Richardson stat line was, and I will read it out because it is terrible, 10 for 32, 175 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. It could have been much better. there was a lot of drops, and drops happen from receivers where there should be enough better passes where the stats look normal, but there's a world where even if there's only a couple drops and not like the 7 that there were, there's a world where the stat line looks like 15 of 32 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, and a Colts win, and I don't think anyone's really complaining. I still believe in Anthony Richardson. I think he's in a tough spot. So on the other side is, I think that this could just be a punishment, because Anthony Richardson, he left the game at one point. Came out, the broadcast was speculating. It's like, oh, did he injure something? Did he hurt his knee, his ankle, his hip, whatever? No, turns out he was just tired. He just wanted a break. He brought them into the red zone. And he's like, nah, good, Flacco, you take this one. I'm tired, which is absolutely brutal, and that's how you lose a locker room almost immediately. Yeah, you can't do that. You just straight up can't do that. It's a very, very bad look on you, and especially when you're playing that poorly and there is a better quarterback, because make no mistake, as much as I believe in Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco is clearly the better quarterback at this moment. Why wouldn't they start, why wouldn't the Colts as a punishment be like, okay, we're going to bench you then? And I think that Joe Flacco can do his Joe Flacco thing, elevate this team to maybe where they need to be for around a month, and then it'll start to decline, and maybe Richardson goes back in, but that's kind of where I think, there's no way that they've given up on him, because then that means that Chris Ballard has lost his job, and that's a weird one to me, because Irsay has given him such a long leash after everything that's happened with Andrew Luck, and the rosters have been good, but they've just missed that quarterback. And firing after 10 in Anthony Richardson starts, or giving up on that quarterback after 10 Anthony Richardson starts, seems a little crazy, but some team is going to find a reclamation project in him if the Colts are done. I don't think I explained that the best I could and how I wanted to, but those are kind of the gist. Those are the thoughts on Anthony Richardson. Yeah, Flacco's going in, so more on that on Friday, I guess. We'll keep going here. Packers 30, Jags 27. This is one of the ones that kept going back and forth at the end. Yeah, didn't expect that I would be saying this, but Malik Willis has been playing really, really good football, undefeated so far on the season. So yeah, Jordan Love, after kind of doing his Jordan Love thing, 14 to 22, almost 200 yards and an interception. Gets a weird injury, and he gets pulled, and then here comes Malik Willis, 4 of 5, 56-yard, and a passing touchdown, added 23 yards on the ground to kind of ice out this game. Had to lead them down the field in the final drive to end up winning this one, too. Big play from Jaden Reed. Yeah, but Love is hurt. I think he's week to week. I think he might be fine. It was a groin injury. But yeah, Packers continue to win football games, and while I'm impressed and they're above the Texans right now, because I've seen them in more real spots and have big wins compared to the Texans. But still a team that I'm iffy on. I really, really like them. Josh Jacobs has been playing great football also. 25 carries, 127 rush yards, 2 TDs. Xavier McKinney had his 6th interception of the season. The team's playing really well. I don't know why I needed to bring up the Texans and be I don't really believe in the Packers. The Packers are fucking good. Now, again, upper echelon teams have been there for the last few years. No, we got to see it. We got to see it, and the Packers have to prove it to us. But the Packers are playing very good football and should definitely be taken seriously. Jags on the other side, a team that should not really be taken seriously all too much. Played it close in this one, though. They covered the spread, and good teams cover. But yeah, at the end of the day, lots of injuries, unfortunately, for the Jags. Brian Thomas is week to week, and number 2 receiver, Christian Kirk, broken collarbone, out for the season. We will see what happens with the Jags. We'll see what Doug Peterson does. Apparently not getting fired this week, maybe next week, but should have been fired already. But yeah, not really much to say about the Jags, really. Like, Trevor Lawrence continues to look pretty good. Tank Bigsby played well. Brian Thomas Jr. is still incredible. The defense is just very okay. Yeah, not a lot of fight in the Jags, which is fair. So we can keep moving on. Next game up here, Titans 14, Lions 52. The Lions are they're unstoppable at this point. They have been on a complete tear really just the last month of the season. I'm trying to pull up those numbers of what they've scored in the last few weeks. Here we go. So yeah, basically, the last 4 games for the Lions, 42 against the Seahawks, 47 against the Cowboys, 31 against the Vikings, and then 52 against the Titans. Absolutely unstoppable. Jared Goff in this 5-game stretch has an 83% completion percentage and 146 passer rating. That is the highest in NFL history for a 5-game stretch. In this game alone, they averaged 44 yards per kick and punt return. That's absolutely insane. Gibbs and Montgomery, or Sonic and Knuckles as they want to be called, that has been one of the most fun running back duos that I've been trying to put together of fun running back duos that I've seen, and I really couldn't think of many, because usually when it's a duo, it's not really a true duo. It's some guy who is the number one, and then a guy who comes in and he's he's pretty good. But this is a pretty even split, and it really just goes, it's game to game on who's getting the load and who's going to load. Pause. But this was Gibbs. Gibbs had an incredible run in this one where, who was the safety? Oh, it was Quandre Diggs, where Quandre Diggs just took a terrible angle, but usually, he can just make that up, and Gibbs was just gone. I think that was his 70-yard touchdown run. Yeah, there's so much fun, and I think the craziest thing about this Lions game in general, Jared Goff had 83 passing yards, and they scored 52 points. Unbelievable. David Montgomery even had a passing touchdown in this one. The Lions are just... Ben Johnson is going to make so much money as someone's head coach whenever he wants to do that. Yeah, Lions look great. We'll see if that defense, when they do get tested, because obviously the Titans are the Titans at the end of the day. And listen, that's not a bad thing. At this point, you are in contention for one of the worst teams in the league. Unfortunately for you, a third of the teams, as I said in the intro, are also in that exact same spot right now. Things will happen, things will shake out. Lucky for you, Titans fans, I think that you will stick towards the bottom 5 with potentially a chance to trade up for a QB if you want. Yeah, not good for the Titans. Yeah, they move off Hopkins, they move off Ernest Jones. They're obviously still looking to make a few small moves, but the roster isn't bad. The defense still they gave up 52 points, so I can't really say that, but the defense has pieces that people should like. The offense even has pieces that people should like. Tony Pollard, he's been having a great year, 20 carries, 94 yards in this one. Calvin Ridley, after posting a 0-0-0 stat line, 10 catches, 143 yards in this one. It's building for next year. This year doesn't matter. Also, shout out to Mason Rudolph. At the start of the game, it looked like, oh my God, are the Titans going to keep this close to the Lions? And then that didn't end up happening. But he broke some linebackers' ankles on the Lions who probably shouldn't be playing. But shout out to Mason Rudolph, I guess. I don't know. We can keep going. Next game up here, Falcons 31, Bucks 26. Game got closer than it should have at the end. A couple miscues. The Falcons, again, they're the Falcons. They tend to do these things, but a missed kick by Younghoe Koo. I think there was a turnover or something too, but the Bucks stayed in this one even though the Falcons were in command of this and now take a stranglehold on the NFC South. Already two wins over the Bucks, one win over the Saints. Have they played the Panthers yet? I think I think they're 4-0 in their division right now, and it's their division. I think that they've got it on lock. Kirk, 23 of 29, 276 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He looks like he's back to pre-injury Kirk. Darnell Mooney still looking good. Kyle Pitts looking great. 2 TDs on national tight end. Almost had an all-time blunder where just secure the ball until you get into the end zone. It almost got punched out by Winfield. I thought the league just should have given the forced fumble to the Bucks just because you can't do that, Kyle Pitts. Unbelievable, but counted as a touchdown anyways. Bijan also had a touchdown. Like, everyone gets involved. They have so many weapons. But at the end of the day, that Falcons defense, I don't have faith in it whatsoever, and that's why I'm not fully bought in on that. That's why I have the Steelers ahead of them in my power rankings, because that Steelers defense is fucking legit. And as much as I like this Falcons offense, I don't think that they're an offensive juggernaut, and their defense will hold them back to a certain extent. But yeah, the Falcons are good. Falcons are a great story. The Bucks on the other side, you tried your hardest. You did your best. Baker, 37 of 50, 330, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Tough when you don't have your top 2 targets out there. Still played well, still played like Baker, still fighting till the end. Bucky Irving continues to prove why he should be the number 1 running back. K. Dodden, 2 touchdowns on National Tight End Day. Good for him. Yeah, it's just this game, it comes down to the Bucks not having their top 2 wide receivers. I think it's as simple as that. The Bucks are still a good team. They'll be a tough, scrappy team for the rest of the season, but I don't think we really have to worry about the Bucks going into the playoffs or even maybe as a wildcard team. But as I say, as a wildcard team, the NFC, the whole league is so out of whack. So who really knows? Next game up here, Jets at Patriots. Jets 22, Patriots 25. Absolutely unbelievable. And a Pats win doesn't usually put a smile on my face, but when you're the Jets and you have Super Bowl contending aspirations, this is our year. We're one of the best teams in the league. And you're going against a team where their head coach just called them soft. And this is the lowest they've been as a franchise in 24 years, where they're expecting to have a top 5 pick and they beat you. And it's not even like they really beat you. They just, I don't know. Somehow the Patriots managed to win this one. And I say somehow because the Jets become the first team since the 1940s to score 20-plus points in the game, have 0 turnovers, and hold the other team's offense to under 250 yards and lose. Yeah, since 1940... teams that had all of those qualifiers were 756-0, and now they're 756-1 thanks to the Jets. Unbelievable. The Jets, they just won't change. They'll never change. Yeah, a little bit about the Patriots, though, anyways. Again, not really much to talk about, because it's not like, oh, the Patriots, they had, like, oh, look at that player. This player played really great. Yeah. Like, Gonzo shut down Devontae Adams. That's great. Garrett Wilson went off, so it didn't really matter anyways. Yeah, I guess only thing to talk about is Drake May gets hurt. Drake May leaves with a concussion. I hope that he'll be okay, because he is the driving force on that offense. Had a big touchdown run to start the game. So yeah, hope May is okay, obviously. Brissett comes in, looks like Jacoby Brissett, but it's good enough to beat the Jets. Yeah, absolutely embarrassing from the Jets. And if you're the Jets at this point, all right, you fired your coach. That didn't work. Okay. You traded for Devontae Adams. That didn't work. Okay. You finally resolved things with Hassan Reddick, get him back on the field. That didn't work. And now, where does that leave you? Well, I think Joe Douglas has one last push to the panic button if he wants it. You got to get rid of Greg Zuerlein. Greg the Leg, while he used to be one of the better kickers in the league, simply just doesn't have it at all anymore. He is hitting on 60% of his kicks so far this year. Missed one in this one, missed a extra point in this one too. And oh, would you look at that? The Jets only lost by 3. That's like literally like the last thing that Joe Douglas can do at this point. Because after that, if you keep losing, then it's like, see what Randall Cobb's doing, see what Jordy Nelson's doing. Hey, maybe get Jimmy Graham to go play with Aaron Rodgers again. I don't know. Not good. Not good. But that's the Jets. The Jets just aren't good. Shout out to the Patriots for a very, very funny win. And at least I can laugh at the expense of the Jets because next game up here, Cardinals 8, Dolphins 27. Not happy. Not happy at all, but we will start off with the Cardinals in this one. It really pisses me off that, like, the week, like, on Friday's episode, I was complaining about this Cardinals offense and how offensive coordinator Drew Petzing has been using Marvin Harrison, who is just, they're running goes and deep breaking routes and stuff like that, instead of doing the stuff that Marvin Harrison does so well. In breaking routes, the route running, get him open, get him the ball, like, and this is the week that they start doing it, the week against the Dolphins, like, of course. And Marv, like, he's had his breakout game already, but those, like, were that first breakout game he had was, like, the 4 catches, 130 yards, and, like, 2 touchdowns, which was a great game. But 6 catches, 111 yards, 1 TD, getting open a ton. And he is so fucking good, and there is a reason he is that good. Trey McBride, National Tight Ends Day, again, 9 catches, 124 yards, huge game. And yeah, the other big reason why we lost was Kyler Murray. And Kyler, the stats didn't look phenomenal. They looked, I mean, he did play great, and he did his Kyler Murray thing where it really pisses me off, but here is a crazy stat. So Kyler Murray's EPA per dropback is 0.14, which is 23rd in the league, and that's when he's unpressured. When he is pressured, his EPA per dropback is 0.16, which is first in the league. So basically, the more pressure you get on Kyler Murray, the more he does his scrambling around thing, his little toddler thing of you can't catch him, he's going to throw the ball better, and that's exactly what he did. The Dolphins did not have the players on the defensive line, the guys on edge, on the interior, to get to him in enough time, and he was able to scramble around, wait for someone to get open, and boom, throw it wide open. It really did remind me of my flag football quarterback, Danny, who, for the division we play in, he is probably one of the better athletes, despite his age. But no, what he does is he gets the ball, and if his kind of first read isn't there, he's okay. I'm just going to scramble around until someone gets open, and one of us usually do get open, and he can make the throw. But, yeah, Kyler Murray, I don't know. I think Danny, that's a pretty good comp. Kyler Murray, not bad. Yeah, it really pissed me off, though. I can't believe that we lost this one. Like, and of course, James Conner, who's done nothing literally the entire game, finally on the last drive is all of a sudden like, I'm just gonna run for 4 yards a carry every single time. Yeah, not fun. This should have been the game because again, the AFC is so out of whack right now. Where we win this game, we're 1 game out of a wild card spot or 2 games out with the Broncos being in the Broncos and Chargers having wild card spots right now. Should have been our week. And the offense, I'll say the offense played great. Tua in his return looked great, 28 of 38, 234 yards, 1 passing touchdown. Wasn't taking a lot of deep stuff. That's fine. We were dinking and dunking. We were moving the ball at ease. The run game looks terrific. Achane averaged 9.7 per carry, 97 yards on the day. Jalen Wright continues to look good. I'm done with Raheem Mostert. I really am. He's great. He's done a ton for this team. Last season was phenomenal, but Jalen Wright is a monster with the ball, and he needs to be cutting into Mostert's touches just a little bit anyways. Tyreek didn't have the explosive game that I thought he would have, but got bottled up a little bit, but 6 for 72. Maybe that means he's just going to have a big week against the Bills this weekend. Doubt it. Completely doubt it. But the offense wasn't the issue. The offense played well. Apart from the Tua botched snap into the end zone safety, realistically, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, yeah, we lost by 1, but I don't think that safety was the difference. The Cardinals would have went down, scored a touchdown. Anyways, leaving us no time. Yeah, the defense, it is what it is. We have no good players on the defensive line at this point. And going into the year, it's like, yeah, Jalen Phillips and Zach Seiler and Calais Campbell, and then, with Shaq Barrett or Chop Robinson and Bradley Chubb coming back. All of those guys are hurt. Jalen Phillips out for the year. Zach Seiler got poked in the eye on practice on Friday, has an orbital bone fracture, so he's out for a while. Calais Campbell, he's playing really good football, but he's 38 years old, and he can't be like your number one guy on that defensive line. Chop Robinson's trying his best out there. It's just simply not good enough. Like, we can't generate pressure. The linebackers, David Long went from one of like the best run-stuffing linebackers in the league last year to now one of the worst. I don't know how that happens. Jalen Ramsey is still playing like good. Marv exposed him a little bit, but like Marv's 10 years younger than him. I'm like, of course he did. Is he 10 years younger? He might be 10 years younger than him. Damn, Jalen Ramsey's old. Yeah, not good for the Dolphins. I thought that this could have been like a turnaround point, but now I don't got a lot of faith, especially when I think next two matchups are Bills and Rams. Yeah, Chris Greer is probably gone at the end of the day. Hey, maybe we'll get a high pick that can fix things. Maybe, I don't know. It's like, as much as I don't want Chris Greer to have... He is in a tough spot because you can't be buyers at the deadline because we just simply can't be buyers at the deadline. But he also doesn't want to be a seller because then that proves to Stephen Ross, the owner, being like, okay, you have failed. This did not work. But I don't know. Guys like Calais Campbell, who's on a 1-year deal here, who's playing really good football, maybe you can trade him away for a day 3 pick. Bradley Chubb, who we did give a contract, but there was a team out in that deal. Like, maybe he gets traded if he's cleared from injury in the next couple weeks. I don't know. It's tough looking ahead for the Dolphins right now, and it's disappointing to say the least. Next game up, Eagles 37, Bengals 17. This Eagles defense has really figured itself out, and I will give all the credit to rookie Cooper DeJean, who has come in at that nickel spot and has absolutely played incredible. Had a couple big plays against Jamar Chase in this one, swatting the ball away and then stopping him before getting a first down. The defense is playing really well, and again, Bengals offense is still good. It's still the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. They were without T. Higgins in this one, which is obviously a big loss, but shout out Mike Gesicki, National Tight Ends Day, 7 catches, 73 yards. The Eagles, things are shaping up. They're looking pretty good. They get their weapons back, obviously, and Jalen Hurts has a great game, 16-20, 236 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground because he is a fucking tush-push merchant, stealing all those touchdowns away from Saquon. Saquon still had 100 yards on the day. Devonta Smith had an incredible catch in the end zone for his 1 touchdown. A.J. Brown continues to be A.J. Brown. Again, the Eagles roster is just too good to look dysfunctional, and lucky for them, they were playing against an equally dysfunctional team. This is kind of what I was saying on Friday, where despite how I feel about the Eagles coaching staff and the Bengals coaching staff, just rosters, the Eagles are miles ahead of where the Bengals are at right now. Yeah, and they truly proved it. Bengals on the other side, your defense fucking sucks. It's as simple as that. And yeah, when you don't have your other really good receiver out there, it's kind of easy to just key in on Jamar Chase because we're not really worried about anybody else. I'm personally not worried about Chase Brown or Zach Moss running the football. Yeah, and as much as I like Mike Gesicki, I don't think that he's like a scary threat that people have to worry about. Rookie Jermaine Burton did have one catch for 41 yards, and maybe that's a thing. But it's like, I don't know, like the Bengals. But again, they have, lucky for them, they do have 3 wins on the season, and that does put them right in contention for a playoff. It truly is. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen in the AFC apart for, again, there's like 5 teams who I'm confident in on will probably make the playoffs at this point, and it's the Chiefs, it's the Bills, it's the Ravens, it's the Texans, and it's the Steelers. Those are the 5 teams that I'm like, those teams are going to make the playoffs. Other than that, those last 2 wildcard spots completely up for grabs. Anyone's game right now. We can keep going though. Next game up, Saints 8, Chargers 26. There was a point in this game where it was 3-2 or 5-2 at the 2-minute warning in the first half. Crazy. But yeah, the Chargers continue to play good football against really bad teams. And again, they got 4 wins on the season, so I can't say much. They are in one of those wild card spots at the end of the day, but it's just that I don't believe in this team and their defense, even though statistically, they're one of the better defenses in the league. They're shutting teams down. No one's scoring points on them. I'm just going to read off the teams that they've played against so far this season. So we got the Raiders. We got the Panthers. We have the Steelers. We got the Chiefs. We got the Broncos, the Cardinals, and then the Saints. Not a bunch of world beaters, really, that they faced so far. Lucky for them, the schedule doesn't really get much harder towards the end of the season either. It's wild that the Chargers might get in the playoffs just because everyone else is also just so terrible right now. But it is what it is. They're winning football, and that is good. Herbert playing good ball. Lad McConkey had his kind of breakout game, 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, the pieces are there. It's just it's very promising if the Chargers make the playoffs, given this roster. I think I can say that, and that's kind of a backhanded compliment, but like it's a very okay team. But the Chargers, again, as long as they keep winning, that is what matters. That's what matters at the end of the day. Shout out to Scott Matlock on the Chargers. He's like their fullback defensive tackle, just jack of all trades guy. He's trying to be the Chargers version of Pat Ricard. But he had a touchdown in this one. He had a sack in this one. Did he have a touchdown in this one? No, he did not have a touchdown. He had a catch in this one. He had a sack, he had a catch, and he had a key block for Dobbins' touchdown anyways. But shout out to Scott Matlock because he's just playing football, and he's absolutely loving it. Saints on the other side. Started off 2-0 and have lost now 6 straight. Spencer Rattler, not good, gets replaced by Jake Haener. Also not good. Chris Olave comes back in this one, 8 catches, 107 yards, gets absolutely lit up post-concussion. He seems to be okay, though. This team isn't good. This is kind of more of what I expected, and yes, the injuries have been really, really bad, but like I think that those first 2 weeks were more of a sham than anything. And yeah, they have went from God, I think they might have been 2 in my power rankings at one point, and now I think they're in my bottom 5. How the mighty have fallen, I guess. I don't know. Not really worth talking about with the Saints. Next game up here, Bills 31, Seahawks 10. The Bills are simply a juggernaut. Like, their run game looks incredible. James Cook had another huge game in this one. Khalil Shakir still might be their number one receiver. 9 catches, 107 yards. Keon Coleman continues to play really well. 5 catches, 70 yards, 1 TD. Maybe getting Amari Cooper there was just so Keon Coleman could finally break out. Amari Cooper, started him in fantasy. 1 catch, 3 yards. Not a fan of that. But, I don't know. The Bills are really good. There's not really much else to say other than I think that this Bills team is really good. And yeah, Seahawks team kind of shot themselves in the foot a lot. A lot in this one, but yeah, I don't know. The Bills, I'm scared next week. I really am. I think that, we're going to get the shit kicked out of us, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think they get Von Miller back in 2 more weeks now, and that defense will get another added boost. The defense is playing well. Yeah, the Bills are good. Let's just move on. Seahawks on the other side. Talked about it a little, but yeah, they completely shot themselves in the foot. Multiple red zone drives. They had one where it's just multiple penalties. All of a sudden, it's 3rd and 30, or 3rd and goal from the 30. And then the other 2, Connor Williams, bad snap over Geno's head, pushes him up. And then, yeah, Connor Williams then trips Geno Smith, stalling out another drive. No DK Metcalf for the Seahawks in this one, so it was tough for them. But, yeah, not... The Seahawks are just like, if you want to talk about, like, Anthony Richardson as a team, it might be the Seahawks, because one week, holy shit, the Seahawks look good. This is what I thought they could be. And then the next week, it's like, this team fucking sucks. So next week might be they're on the way up, bet on the Seahawks again. There was some infighting, too, on the team on the bench. It was Jaron Reed, and I don't know who the other guys, but they were grabbing each other's face masks, just not letting go, screaming in each other's faces. Yeah, the Seahawks are a really weird team, but like most teams in the league, that's just how they've been. They've been really weird. Next game up here, Bears 15, Commanders 18. This was an incredibly boring game until it wasn't. Came a little bit alive in the 4th quarter there, and then obviously ends with that Jaden Daniels Hail Mary. Incredible. Great job by Noah Brown. Great job by Jaden to scramble around until he was completely ready and his guys were down there to make that throw. Yeah, I think that's really all I have to talk about the Commanders. Jane Daniels continues to play very, very good football. Terry McLaurin continues to prove that he just needed a quarterback and is playing great. The running game looks good. Somehow this Commanders defense is playing well. I don't understand that whatsoever, but I think that's more of a Bears issue at this point. But yeah, I don't know how the Bears come off of a bye week and look that terrible for 3 quarters. Like, absolutely abysmal dog shit for 3 quarters after you've had a full week to prepare against a bad Commanders defense. I'm not giving this Commanders defense any credit. They are not a good unit. The Bears coaching and offensive coaching, especially with Shane Waldron, is garbage. And this isn't taking blame away from Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was awful for 3 quarters. Let's make that clear. Did come alive, and then, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, they're in the red zone, they can score a touchdown to take the lead in this one, and no, what do? Instead of giving the ball to Roschon Johnson, who has scored every time from inside the 5, no, let's give it to offensive lineman Doug Kramer. I think he's an offensive lineman, I better not be a fullback, but they gave it to Doug Kramer Jr. to punch it in on a weird trick fullback dive. I don't know. And he fumbles and kills the drive. And would you look at that? The Bears lost by 3, and that touchdown would have sealed things away. Not that touchdown, because they would have scored later, but again, they would have been up. They would have been up by more than that Hail Mary could have given them. The Bears are such a frustrating team, and I'm sure that Ryan Poles is regretting not just cutting bait with Matt Eberflus last season and getting someone like Jim Harbaugh to come in there and run the team. But hey, maybe the Bears are just going to send a bag to Ben Johnson and be like, hey, Ben, we got you Caleb Williams, we got DJ Moore, we got Romo Dunze, we got those 3 guys under contract. We'll draft a big offensive tackle to bolster up this offensive line. Please come work with us. Give them a blank check to Ben Johnson. Maybe he'll show up. Yeah, the Bears just fucking blew this one, though. Next game up, Chiefs 27, Raiders 20. It is just really funny how bad we all talk about the Chiefs and, the Chiefs suck, their offense is so bad, this team isn't looking good. And it's the same discourse from this time last year. And I can go back and I'm assure you, if you listen to my episodes a year ago from now, I'm talking about how the Chiefs look beatable and they're not playing good football while they continue to win. And while the Chiefs' offense hasn't really looked great, they are the number 1 team in offensive success rate in the NFL. So, maybe their shitty offense is doing okay. And again, they're getting guys back. Like Pacheco will be back relatively soon. I mean, I say that they're getting guys back. They're really not. Hopkins is going to get into the mix a little bit more. Didn't get involved too much in this one because, again, it was National Tight Ends Day. This was Travis Kelce's day. He got his first touchdown on the season. Mahomes played pretty good, not up to Mahomes' standards, obviously. Threw a pick 6 to Trayvon Moehrig. Yeah. Oh, yeah, another trade happened that I'll also talk about more on Friday's show, but the Chiefs got Josh Uche. Good move for them. That defense just gets another good pass rusher. Yeah, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I don't really care at this point. They're in preseason mode right now. Pat Mahomes and the offense does not care. The defense is playing great football. Simple as that. Raiders on the other side. Gardner Minshew had a good game. 24 of 30, 209 yards, 2 passing TDs. Like, he played like Gardner Minshew. Alexander Mattison averaged 1.1 yards per carry. That's a fun one. Brock Bowers continues to be Brock Bowers. Again, there's nothing to talk about the Raiders. They're an okay, boring team with not a lot of talent on it outside of 2 white guys. That sounded bad, but it's true. It's Brock Bowers. It's Max Crosby. Everyone else is expendable. Yeah, I don't have anything to say. Like, moving on from the Raiders. Next game up here, Panthers 14, Broncos 28. Bo Nix in this last month has really ascended as one of the better rookie QBs in the league. This one, 28 of 37, 284 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. But do I believe? No, I don't. I still think that Bo Nix, at his absolute ceiling, at his absolute best of his talents, he's prime Andy Dalton, and that's not a knock to Andy Dalton. Prime Andy Dalton is pretty damn good, but you don't win a hell of a lot with prime Andy Dalton, do you? And again, he's playing against the Panthers. He hasn't had a real tough test the last couple weeks. Panthers in this one, Saints in the other. Yeah, he's playing good football, and I shouldn't knock him, but I'm not changing my stance on Bo Nix whatsoever. The rest, Cortland Sutton had a big game. 8 catches, 100 yards. Adam Troutman, National Tight Ends Day, he had 85 yards and a touchdown. Not much to say on the Broncos. The Broncos just continue to do their thing. They're really, the Broncos and the Chargers are just I don't know who we're kidding at this point. It's very okay football. Panthers on the other side. Bryce Young is back without Deontay Johnson, who, again, you now know this, has been traded. But yeah, without his weapons, without any defense really backing it up, he played okay. Wasn't great, wasn't good, just okay. Which for Bryce Young, that's a huge step in the right direction. 24 of 37, 224 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That is a great stat line for Bryce Young. In the way that it's gone, and against, again, this great Broncos defense, I should say, that is an acceptable NFL stat line to have. So step in the right direction for Bryce Young. They do trade Deontay Johnson away. Didn't really get much back from him, but again, more on that on Friday's show. And maybe they felt comfortable trading him away because other rookie, Jalen Coker, 4 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown in this one. Maybe they just want to get their young guys more involved. Get Xavier Leggett. He had a touchdown in this one. Did his ride on the horse celebration. He's just a fun player. I hope he scores a touchdown every game because he's so good. And maybe things change a little bit when Jonathan Brooks gets back. But Panthers defense is just so bad. I think on the Bootleg podcast, which is Brett Coleman and I forget the other guy, EJ Snyder. How could I forget EJ? But they were rumored it's hey, maybe the Panthers trade J.C. Horn. I don't think that's a bad move. I don't think that you sign J.C. Horn if you're the Panthers at this point, unless you get a really team-friendly deal. But some team could use another solid second corner because he's not a number one. He's a pretty good number two, though. I'll say that. But the Panthers, the Panthers just flat out suck. And we can move on to the final game here. Cowboys 24, Niners 30. Don't be fooled by the score of this game. This game wasn't really close up until, again, like what the Cowboys do a ton, is they make it close at the very end. Dak gets his garbage time padded stats, even though he didn't have a great game for 75% of it. And you can look at the box score and be like, the Cowboys played pretty well. No, they didn't. The Cowboys did not play pretty well. We will start with the Niners, though, because the Niners did play pretty well, and they needed this win. Purdy, 18 of 26, 260 yards, and a passing touchdown. Also added 56 yards on the ground in this one. I like the mobile Brock Purdy getting going a little bit. Jordan Mason leaves the game with an injury in this one, so Isaac Orendo, 14 rushes, 85 yards, and a touchdown. It just really is. It's just next man up for the Niners running back position at all times. It's absolutely insane. George Kittle was the one who finished off my touchdown parlay for the tight ends. Six catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Was a picked up flag by the refs, too, that saved that touchdown. So thank God that happened, because that was a nice payday for me. The Niners, again, they get back on track in this one. They're now on a bye week. They can get a little bit healthier here. Not much to really say about the Niners other than, they're the Niners. They'll rebound. They'll be okay. Don't you worry. Cowboys on the other side. Their team rushed for as many yards as Brock Purdy, so that's good. And I really have been harping on the point of, the Cowboys don't have a running back, and it was malpractice that they went into the season with Rico Dowdle, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook active in this one, if you want to know his stats. One catch for 10 yards, and then 6 carries for 12 yards. Great job, Cowboys. But it really was. I saw a tweet, and it was the pick that they traded for Trey Lance. The next 5 picks after that were Tyrone Tracy, Ray Davis, and Isaac Orendo, who have all looked like very good running backs so far. And that has been a major reason why the Cowboys, on offense anyways, they have no rushing attack. They have no rushing attack whatsoever. Doesn't really matter because CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb. 13 catches, 146 yards, 2 TD. That man is a monster. But yeah, the Cowboys they're a completely unserious team. And it ended with some unserious too, with Trayvon Diggs immediately heading to the locker room, immediately getting on Twitter, and I think it was reporter Mike Leslie didn't like his effort on one of the plays. It was, I I think it was a Garendo run. It might have been Kittle. Either way, Diggs just not really giving an effort and showing up like last minute when he could have stopped the play like maybe 10 yards sooner, 15 yards sooner. And I think the tweet was also like, what was Diggs doing on this play? Wasn't like an insane thing, take a shot, but no. As soon as, of course, Diggs gets to the locker room, checks on Twitter, then immediately goes out to the locker room to confront that reporter. Told him to suck on D's nuts, which is very funny objectively, but it's the clown show of the Cowboys. And yeah, that reporter had every right to question Diggs' effort level on that play. Didn't look good. I'm sure that his coaches that week will also bring up that play and be like, why did you do that? The fact that players are checking their phones and then confronting reporters about it, absolutely nuts. He then goes on Micah Parsons' podcast and they're both talking about like, oh, how if they were healthy, they'd be making such a difference. And like, do they not know they just played the Niners, who have also been dealing with so many injury issues of their own? Like, good teams overcome injuries. Except for their quarterbacks, obviously. But, like, if the Cowboys were such a good team, they'd still be winning games. They're not. They're not a good team. They're a bunch of babies. I'm very happy that the Cowboys are this bad, really. Yeah, that's the Week 8 recap. It was a great week of football. Yeah, and I'll finish up with, a little bit about me. But, yeah, flag football championship on Sunday. Unfortunately, I trucked a dude. Because I'm getting to the age now where, like, my mental stuff with sports is still relatively sharp as it would have been when I was in high school and actually, like, playing competitive stuff. But my body just does not react the same as it used to, especially when I'm running. Because caught a ball in a drag, made two guys miss, kept running up the field, and there was a guy probably 10 yards away from me, just directly in front of me. And obviously it's like, okay, I could go left, I could go right, but as I'm running and as I'm doing this, I'm like, I'm just going straight. I cannot turn, and I ran into him. I didn't fully truck him because I knew I was going to run into him, and I gently led him to the ground. But either way, we won the game. The Browns are the champions. You won't hear that probably ever. But yeah, that was fun. Happy to win that because the way it usually goes for my flag football team is we lose in heartbreaking ways. Like this summer, we were in the finals again too, and we just needed to punt it away and play defense, and like we would have won the game. And the refs fucked us with giving them, they had too many guys on the field and called a timeout for them. And then we punted the ball, or we wanted to punt the ball to put them deeper into the territory, and they had it blocked. And then they kicked a field goal to win. It was not good. We always lose in bad and embarrassing ways, but not this time. We played well. And then, it was my final game of my CFL gig for this season. Ottawa played a great game against Hamilton, but the real reason I was excited for that game is because Tua's brother, Taulia, is the Tiger Cats' backup quarterback. So went there a little bit early, saw him play, saw him throw in warm-ups. It's weird being that close to, like, my QB's, like, my starting QB's brother. Was cool. He is much shorter than Tua, like, much, much shorter, because I think Tua's around my height. I think Taulia's, like, 5'11", 5'10". Noticeably small, but either way. Very cool. Very cool to just be on the field for, like, the entire season and see a bunch of former NFL guys, like Justin Hardy, who's on Ottawa, who was a Falcons pick, or Reichwell Armstead, Khalil Pimpleton, Taulia, Sean Oakman, who is Shea Patterson, who is the Michigan quarterback for a while. It was a very cool experience, and I'm very, very thankful for it, and hopefully I can do it again next year. But, Friday's episode going to be a good one. Still a lot to unpack with these couple of trades that have happened recently. I have to deal with my fantasy league right now, because a loophole was discovered about dropping injured players, so I sent in my verdict, recorded the podcast. Now let's see what hell I'm getting back into. Actually, let's check my text message before. I got 31 unanswered text messages. unanswered text messages. So yeah, I will stop here. If you've liked this, as always, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, tell all your friends, and until next time, peace.